guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're talking about the positives of being a physical media collector. Yeah, so I wanted to start a series. I previously did a video talking about why I collect physical media, and then I actually started going through some of the pros and cons of, collecting physical media from my point of view. And I created then these extra two videos. So this week we're going through the positives, and of course in a couple of days' time I'll upload a video of all of the negatives to collecting physical media, because there is some, in my opinion. The first one, and the most obvious one, is owning the item. Everything in this room I own. Of course, nobody from Netflix can come in here and say, let's just say The Greatest Showman. We're not gonna stock The Greatest Showman anymore on our Netflix servers. We're gonna take it off. Our license is expired. We don't want to pay the extra money, so we're getting rid of it, and it's not on Netflix anymore. That doesn't happen with a physical media collector, of course. I physically own this item. This item is there on the shelf, and whenever I or anyone in my family wants to watch The Greatest Showman, I can now offer it to them, and they can come and lend and watch and experience and enjoy the physical media benefits there. The next one, of course, is owning the item but having that physical artwork. And I said this is one of the reasons why I collect. But what I want to talk about in this point of view is the physical media aspect of, especially these Disney releases, owning now something that previously was a digital exclusive product. Now I can own the item of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, as well as all the other Star Wars is there. And I can own this, this title and hold it and experience it in a totally different way than what was it first intended, I guess, by Disney. So that's another benefit and 100% positive to physical media, especially for us collectors who like and appreciate different artworks and different takes on different things. Back to the Future there, physically being able to hold and look at the artwork and go through the different digipack. It's all part of the experience, I guess, of owning these items. And if you had just watched Obi-Wan on streaming, which we all did, of course, when it came out, this is a different experience altogether in terms of having it now on the shelf physically. The other thing I think is massive, not so much for me, well, in a different way for me, but for other people, I'm assuming, is the benefits of owning something that you may have grew up with. So, for instance, Titanic obviously has had a 4K release. This movie is over 25 years old, of course, and it has now given it a new lease of life. And found new fans as well. New fans find older movies, of course. I've got some films here like Days of Thunder. Older films, they get an opportunity to have a new lease of life by having that new re-release and all of that. However, some things don't go so well. Sometimes, new releases come out and people don't like them. They don't like what's happened to them. They don't like the scans. The directors got involved, made some changes. And the Terminator 1, well, mainly number 2, they do have some criticism there. So there is benefits and negatives to that. But I've done videos on especially Terminator recently, so go back and watch that if you're interested. The other benefit to physical media, in my opinion, especially this is mainly in 4K, of course, is region free. So region free allows the person to buy a movie wherever they are in the world. So, if you want to buy an American version of the movie, then you can. So here in the UK, Despicable Me 1, 2 and 3, for instance, were released in the UK, but number 4 didn't get a 4K release. So it allowed me then to go into a different market and pick up the 4K with no worries about it not working on my player or anything. And this goes not just for, being able to have it so it completes the Despicable Me collection, but it also goes back to, physically owning the item that, maybe even the 4K is not even available on iTunes or something. Maybe there's only a version that's like a HD version, whereas America might have a 4K release. I think Gone Girl, something like that, where there's no 4K release here, but there's a 4K release on streaming, and I think that somewhere in the world there is a 4K physical media release. So there's pros and cons, of course, to most of these things, but region free is definitely a benefit. Blu-rays in the UK are coded to region B, and you can get players that allow you to play region A and region C, of course, like that. But for the most part, Blu-rays are locked to different regions. So from a 4K point of view, though, you can rest assured you can buy a 4K from anywhere in the world. I got this one from America, and I actually got this one from Italy, and they will just work. You get exclusive releases and all of that. And that goes on to my next point in terms of exclusivity, of course. This steelbook is a Italian only release. You can't get it anywhere else. I think maybe other territories, but you couldn't get it in the UK. And I liked the steelbook at the time, but because it was 4K, I was able to just go and get this steelbook that I want for my collection, even though it was region free and I had no restrictions. So definite benefit. And the next part, I guess, is building the collection for yourself. You know, if you don't want to get a steelbook, like for instance the Batman one that maybe was on HMV or Zavvi, and you don't like the design, you can build a collection for yourself. Now, I'm not really a good example of this for 4K, because for 4K I buy anything, I'll watch it, and even if I don't like the film, I probably will keep the 4K, because I just want to own as many 4Ks as I can. So I consider myself to be a 4K collector that has everything. That's just like my thing. Blu-rays, however, I have done in the past. Like, I've done selling videos in terms of going through my collection and culling all of the films. I have about, well, half of the collection I had before, to be honest. I've got rid of loads. But, you know, it's all about building the collection for you that you want. You go through the films, you're like, would I ever watch this again? Will I ever not watch this again? You know, I want to get steelbooks for this, but Amarais for this. Everyone can kind of decide what they want to do, and that's good. And then I guess for most people, you would go back to your shelf, you would look at your shelves, and you would think, oh, actually, you know, this is me. This collection is me to a T. There is some collectors, obviously, that it ain't, and they are more of the hoarder collectors, I suppose. But you know, for the most part, you know, when you have a collection, you can build it for yourself, and that's the benefits there. Whereas with Netflix or Amazon Prime, you're scrolling, a lot of the stuff on the screen you might not be interested in, and to be honest, it might distract you from the content that you're actually interested in watching. Whereas if you had a bookcase of all the films that you know you love, you literally just, you've got a problem of, all these films are too good, which one do I choose, maybe, you know? So it's more tailored directly to you. The other positive to physical media is collector's editions. This one here is the Wolf of Wall Street collector's edition. This is like a positive to it, but some people it's a negative. I'm on the fence with this, you know. You can see collector's editions just come in a nice box, and then you've got the film there. We've got an actual wallet here with some other little bits. I think a lot of this is tacked, to be honest. Some people like all this, some people don't. It's you know, it is what it is. Some films, obviously, I would love it, and in other films I couldn't care less. I think studios add a lot of money to some of their stuff, and you know, it doesn't cost much to print this piece of paper, you know, and they'll make the price maybe 10-15 quid more than the standard version just because it comes with all this stuff. So yeah, collector's edition can be a benefit, of course, if you want that extension of the thing, and if you have like a film that particularly you're very interested in, hence for me The Wolf of Wall Street, I can get a little bit more of something that I love. One massive positive I've always stuck by with physical media, whether or not it's games or it's, you know, owning things like this, and I remember having a big debate with this with my friend when we was debating PS5 digital version or PS5 disc version. Well, once you own a disc, everything on this shelf is able to be resold. If one day I decided, or I had to, for instance, pack this room up and I have to go back and live with my mum, for instance, or whatever reason, and I don't have the space to have a collection like this, I could take all this to CEX, or I could post this on Facebook, or I could put it on eBay and Vinted. I could sell all of these items, and I could get a pretty good amount of money back, of course, for the collection. When you have a digital only collection, if you bought your movies in iTunes, or you know, you buy your games through PlayStation Store, you can't resell those games. You buy a game for 60 quid, for instance, on the store, you play it once, it's not very good. You same thing with a movie. You buy a movie on iTunes, it's not very good, you're stuck with it. There's no refund, there's no option to get rid of. Whereas, for instance, you could go and buy something like, let's just say, a Dune came out, 25 quid, you watch it, you think it's not for you, straight away you put it on Facebook, and you see it now, people will, Gladiator 2 is one of the new releases, people have watched, put it on Vinted for like 20 quid, they lose a fiver, and then they get most of their money back. If they did that on obviously digital, they wouldn't have that option. So having items physically and tangibly are there that can be resold, and you can gain more capital back to spend on whatever you want. So digital, you don't get that option. And speaking of money, some valuable items do go up, especially the Star Wars ones. I think the Andor one at the moment, for instance, sells upwards of nearly £100. So items go up in value as well. Sometimes they do, sometimes they tank, don't get me wrong. As with everything though, but similar to like vinyl and whatnot, physical media does do that in terms of movies. As I say, Andor being the best example. I think, as I spoke about earlier with this Batman one, this probably would be worth a bit more than what I bought it because it's so limited and it's not in the UK and all of that. You will get some common titles like, you know, this film Turtles, I bought this for maybe 15 quid from CEX, and it's now down to like a fiver. Some films do tank quite a lot, you know, that's the downside to it, in terms of you can get some movies that don't hold their value. But on the flip side, a lot of the stuff does maintain its value and does, garner that, as I say, investment if you want to then sell on your collection. So there's two positives there. And finally, this is another reason why I love physical media, and I said this in the reason why I collect ultimately, is this is the best quality. Bitrate wise, sound wise, however way you look at it, comparing it to streaming, you're relying on many different things with streaming in terms of your internet connection, your speed to download. For instance, if you have a film that's really big, you might want to download the film and that might take time. But if you are streaming the film, it might dip in quality. The quality might be really, really good at the beginning, then you might have a drop off of internet and then the quality might dip slightly and then ultimately ruin your experience. And for me, I didn't want to risk that inconsistency. At the time, I had really bad internet in this house, and sometimes it would dip up and down and your quality would go up and down. If you watch YouTube and stuff, sometimes that happens. However, with this is quite consistent. You put this in the player, obviously chances are it's going to play through fine all the way. You might get the odd sometimes when it stutters, and that's because maybe I'm wiped the disc or whatever. But for the most part, physical media will play flawlessly all the way through, and you get a lot of the time the best quality in terms of the codecs and different experiences on the back. So your HDRs, your Dolby Atmos, your Dolby Vision, your DTS:X, all the different experience wise stuff definitely come into play. So there it is. There is why I collect physical media and why I enjoy movies and experience films this way. People might see it as dated. We obviously have moved on from the times in terms of supermarkets no longer stocking physical media, or shops closing left, right and centre. But physical media is still thriving, and there's still plenty of benefits there to enjoy with it. Also, though, physical media does have some negatives, so stay tuned for that video, which I will be releasing very, very soon, and going through, of course, all of my negatives to having a physical media collection. So stay tuned for that coming soon, of course. But thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more videos. Of course, subscribe if you are new here and you like the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.